Okay, why are the cards so fucking small, man? GG. If you just get a feel for what the good common cards are, you'll pop the fuck off, okay? So first of all, Anger goes in S. We're just gonna do the common cards. A. Let's put Anger in A, Bloodletting in S. Get this shit out of it's like here. Body Slam is a lot worse than Slay the Spire 2. Bully is like meh. Breakthrough, B. Cypher sucks. Oh yeah, Armaments. Armaments in A. Let's have a row above here. Let's have Bloodletting here, Anger and Armaments here. Breakthrough here. Havoc in B. Headbutt in S. Iron Wave in B. Molten Fist in B. Perfected Strike is dog shit. Pommel Strike in SS. Setup Strike in C. Shrug in SS. Sword Boomerang now is dog shit, I think. Because strength scaling is just not what the Ironclad is trying to do anymore. Thunderclap. Probably A. Might be. Yeah, probably A. Tremble. Probably B. Why do I have Bully? It's not a fucking common card. True Grit. In S. Twin Strike is a lot worse now. And C, I guess. If you just... And like, again, right? The game is still relatively new, and also I'm not that good. But if you're struggling at the very start, like you don't know what you're doing, you're struggling to even get wins at all, just generally prioritizing the cards that are here, right? These 7 cards are Ironclad. And Pommel Strike and True Grit need to be upgraded. Armaments too, but Armaments upgrades the rest of your hand, so it's fine, right? True Grit and Pommel Strike. I mean, Pommel Strike you can take even if you can't upgrade it soon. True Grit you only take if you can upgrade it soon. Because upgraded True Grit is SS and unupgraded True Grit is like C. It's probably the most important upgrade on the Ironclad. True Grit with Hell from Beyond was good too. Nah, that's kind of ass. Hell from Beyond is not a great card. It's only good when you already have a lot of exhaust support, and exhaust support got nerfed a lot by what's it called again? Dark Embrace being a rare instead of an uncommon. It's a lot harder to find it now. When else is True Grit used? True Grit is just a great card in general. Exhausting statuses and curses is very good, but also exhausting strikes and defense is very good. And also, I mean, if you have Dark Embrace, that's very good. If you have any of the other exhaust energy, right? Feel No Pain gives you block whenever you exhaust. But just in general, exhausting the bad cards in your deck is the same as removing cards, and that's very good. Ironclad just has a lot more ways of generating energy in Slay the Spire 2 than in Slay the Spire 1. So card draw kind of comes at a premium. And ways of getting more consistency. So headbutt. Or ways to capitalize on the card draw like anger just becomes better. And it doesn't really matter whether you have a bludgeon or whatever, right? You were saying that bludgeon... You always lost if you didn't get bludgeon. Realistically, at best, that's a 2-card combo that deals, like, what, 60 for 2 energy? But Pommel Strike into drawing 2 angers, right? Upgraded Pommel is 10 damage. 2 angers is, like, another 16. So that's 26 damage for 1 card. But also, it allows you to dig through your deck, so you're more likely to find block if you need it, and if you don't need it... Like, Pommel Strike is broken, Headbutt is broken, Shrug is broken. Bludgeon is fine if you need to have damage early on, but it's a pretty bad pickup later on. Because you almost always have better ways of dealing damage than just one big attack. If you have a lot of energy generation with Expect to Fight that you were mentioning, I don't know where it is. Yeah, there it is. With Expect to Fight. If you have card draw, you can redraw the Expect to Fight, right? You can headbutt. You can play Expect to Fight, headbutt to put it back on top of your deck, Pommel Strike to redraw it and play it again. And you get way more damage out of that than if you were to use it to get some bludgeon going. And the reason why True Grit is so good is because exhausting your starting cards, because you can't really, realistically remove all strikes and all defense, but they're really dogshit cards compared to everything else. They're the worst cards in the game, other than curses, basically. Is that true? There's probably a worse card than a strike or a defense somewhere in here. Is there actually? There might not be, actually. Oh, actually, Clash. But that's not an Ironclad card. That's an event card. I struggle to get enough block. That's part of why True Grit is so good. Because upgraded True Grit is 9 block. Shrug It Off is 8 block. Upgraded Shrug It Off is 11 block. And you can get extra block from the Feel No Pain. I mean, we can do the other cards, too. I'm not going to rank the cards that I haven't really played around with very much. I haven't really played around with Aggression very much. Barricade, I think, is a lot worse now. Because you don't have Entrench, because Body Slam is a lot worse. Probably goes in, like, B. Like, it's still a decent card. Bully. I don't know where Bully goes, man. I've only played around with it a couple times. Whatever. Battle Trans, SS. Bludgeon is, like, B. Situational pickup. Brand is S. We make a Slay the Spire beginner guide on your second channel. Is that something you guys would want to see? Like, I could. Yes. I mind then. Burning Pact as S. Cascade, probably A. Colossus, S. Conflagration, B. It's bad for a rare card, but like at worst it's fucking AoE 8. Like at worst it's a cleave, right? So it's okay. It just feels bad to pick it up because so many rare cards are better. Crimson Mantle. At the start of your turn, lose 1 HP and gain 8 block. I've only played with it once, and it didn't do that much because I was already very powerful, but I think it's pretty good. Cruelty. Vulnerable enemies take more damage. Probably B. The biggest issue with Cruelty is that you don't need it. It's a relatively low priority thing to add to your deck. Dark Embrace, still SS, probably. Demon Form, I think, is a lot worse now. Because you have so many more ways of killing enemies than just strength scaling now. With Cruelty, with all the like energy generation that you have now. So it's not here anymore. It's still very good. You rank advantage potential cards over others, or do you often avoid playing infinite? It depends. In Ironclad, cards that allow you to go infinite are a lot better because Ironclad has a lot of ways of exhausting cards, so you don't need to remove all your strikes and defend to be able to go infinite. You just need enough turns to exhaust your bad cards. So it tends to be a lot easier on Ironclad than on other characters to go infinite. But if a card is only good in an infinite, it's kind of ass. It needs to be a card that also does something when you're not going infinite. Right? That's part of why Pommel Strike is so fucking good, because, like, it's a card that's, like, a core part of the infinites that Ironclad can do, and it's also basically the best attack you can add to your deck when you're not infinite. It's just so fucking good. This is a co-op card, so we won't rank it. Dismantle. I haven't actually picked Dismantle yet. It's never felt like it would do anything. Like, I'm sure it's good because it's just a lot of damage. But it's just like... Dismantle is just like a twin strike and a half, right? Is juggling upgrade worth it? Depends on what your deck is doing. If you can proc the juggling turn 1 even while spending 1 energy to play it, then usually, yeah, it is. Because the -1 card that you have in your starting hand, because the juggling is innate, because it's there, gets alleviated by the +1 card the juggling generates. Dominate. I mean, I haven't played the Vuln stuff enough to really know. I don't think it's that good. Drum of Battle. Probably goes A. It's a scary card to play, because it's very, very good. Okay. Drum of Battle is great if you're a save and quit abuser, and it's, like, decent otherwise. Which is very funny. Save and quit abuse? Yeah, if you save and quit, it restarts the combat. Drum and Battle is a great card until it exhausts a card you need to not exhaust. Why didn't I do that? I mean, I think the game is better when you don't do that. The only time when I save in Quid Abuse is when I'm trying to do something that isn't a high ascension climb, and I just want to have fun, and the fun thing I want to do is getting cooked by RNG. Anyways, Evil Eye is probably an S? Is it an S? I'm not sure. Because, like, at worst, it's gain 8. It's an upgraded defend in the worst case scenario. And very often, it's better than that. It probably goes an S. I haven't picked it too many times because I haven't lost a lot with Ironclad. So I haven't really needed more defensive tools, but... I'm on 16 MS and my last Maloney Chomp never gets the Omen buff. Why is that? Probably because you're not waiting between the N1 and the N2 on Mona. Anyways, Expect to Fight is probably like A. The biggest issue with Expect to Fight is that very often it needs an upgrade to even do anything, and doing anything sometimes is just +1 energy. And like, Bloodletting gives you 2 without being upgraded. Expect to Fight is part of the infinites, but Expect to Fight cured cancer. Ain't no way. Like, I think there are situations where it's S. If your deck has enough attacks in it that Expect to Fight, even unupgraded, is a reliable +1 energy. It's pretty good. But, like, you need to have, like, 5 Pommel Strike pluses already for Expect to Fight to be that good. Or a Dark Embrace. I guess Battle Trance is also kind of enough. Maybe it's S. Like a low S. Sure. Fine. Feed. Yep, Feed is broken. Fiend Fire, I think is worse than it used to be. Again, because strength scaling is a bit worse. But it's still a way to both capitalize on card draw and exhaust your deck. Is it still here? Maybe it is, honestly. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't think so. Dark Embrace being a rare was a really big hit to Fiend Fire. Like, I'm thinking, what if I have to choose between Dark Embrace and Fiend Fire? Am I ever picking Fiend Fire? Probably not. Forgotten Ritual. If you exhausted a card this turn, you gain 3 energy. It has the same issue as Expect to Fight. Probably goes in A. But again, right, just like Expect to Fight, like, it depends on what your deck looks like when you pick it up, right? If you have a lot of exhaust already, it's a lot better. Another worse Bloodletting? Yeah. Dude, the fact that they made Bloodletting a common card is insane, man. Like, what the fuck do you mean by that? I mean, honestly, though, I think that's good. I think there should be a good self-damage card that's a common. That you almost auto-pick. It didn't used to be common. Yeah, it used to be uncommon. In Slay the Spire 1. But that made it so that a lot of the self-damage synergy just really sucked. Because pretty much every good self-damage card was uncommon. So there were a lot of times where, like, you just didn't find any of them. So if you look at cards like Rupture, for example, that gives you strength whenever you take damage on your turn. Like, that shit was ass. Anyways, Feel No Pain, definitely SS. Flame Barrier. Is it just me, or are there more multi-hit enemies in STS2 than in STS1? I think it's probably an S. I think it's better in STS2 than it was in 1. Thorns is just better generally in STS2 from my experience. Right, like, you have... Like, pretty much every act has elites that have multi-hits. Does Act 3 have elites that multi-hit? Yeah, the first guy from the, like, triple ghost does, but I don't remember the rest. Anyways, Grapple... Probably C. It's kind of ass. Hellraiser. Probably an S. The biggest issue with Hellraiser is how reliant it is on you having a lot of pommel strikes. But I guess you can say that about a lot of cards in the Spire too. Honestly, I think Pommel Strike should be uncommon at this point. Like, it does too much. It's too it's. I think they should buff the card quality across the board for Ironclad and make Pommel Strike an uncommon. Is Bash just bad? Bash is the worst vulnerable card, basically. But it starts in your deck and it's better than Strikes and Defense. So it'll stay there forever, basically. It feels bad to use even at the start if you don't start with anger. You need to learn to face tank. That's probably what's happening. Using your Vuln turns to just go off and do a lot of damage and just tank a hit because your starting relic can heal you back up a little bit is a core part of what the Ironclad does. Thunderclap is better than Bash. How? Because it's AoE. AoE is very nice. It also costs 1. The Bash upgrade is better than the Thunderclap upgrade, but 4 damage is low. But it's not 4 damage. It's 4 damage plus the extra attack you get to play with 1 more energy. So at worst, it's 13 damage if it's just a strike that you're playing. Which is 5 more than Bash. There are times when Bash is better to play than than Thunderclap, but Thunderclap is just a better card for sure. Anyways, Hemokinesis is so much worse now. Holy fuck. Hemokinesis used to be an auto pick in Slay the Spire 1. Like, it up here. Now I think it's like B. Is it not good with Rupture? Rupture is bait. Even with all the buffs, even with Bloodletting as a common, Rupture is still bait. Hemokinesis is actually worse with Rupture than the other self-damage cards. The purpose of Hemokinesis is to have a card that costs 1 and deals 14. Or 19 on the upgrade. But it used to be 20 on the upgrade in Slay the Spire 1, right? I feel like that 1 damage is such a big difference, because it's not just 1 damage, it's 2 damage on Vuln, right? Because the game always rounds down. So 20 on Vuln is 30, and 19 on Vuln is 28. That's kind of a big deal. Looking at the rest of the cards I've put here, I think Cruelty probably goes in A, actually. Anyways, Hell from Beyond, probably B. It's fine, but if you have a good way of reliably exhausting Hell from Beyond, you have a good way of reliably exhausting your deck so that you can actually play good cards. The biggest problem with Hell from Beyond is that exhausting it means you're not thinning your deck, because it goes back to the deck after it gets autoplayed. So if you exhaust Hell from Beyond, you keep a strike in your deck. You keep a defend in your deck that you would like to get rid of. Unless you already have Fiendfire or Stoke. Or I guess... yeah. Hell from Beyond is only good if you already have, like, full hand exhaust. It's not great if you don't. It's good thrash fodder. You don't need good thrash fodder. A strike is probably a better thrash fodder most of the time than a Hell from Beyond. Just because getting rid of your strike means that you're redrawing your thrash earlier and scaling it faster. Right? Do you need thrash? I feel like it always exhausts the one card I want to keep in my deck. But if it exhausts a card that deals a lot of damage, that's good, because the next time you play it, it deals that damage twice. That's why Headbutt is fucking necessary. That's why Draw with Pommel Strike is necessary. Battle Trance, Dark Embrace, Burning Pact. That's why exhausting your deck is so good. Because you get to redraw into your good cards faster. Anyways, Impervious, still S for sure. Infernal Blades, probably C. Inferno. How much better is Inferno than Combust was? I think Spite makes Inferno a bit better. But it's also not the best self-damage card. It's probably B. Inflame, I think, is way worse now. Give it the Prime Aristoph. Inflame is probably C for me so far. Juggernaut. Juggernaut ain't it. C. Juggling. Probably S. Maybe A. S. Yeah, so we can put it A. S. I don't know. It's good. But it's hard to quantify how good it is, because it's so inconsistently good, right? Anyways. Mangle. I don't know how I feel about Mangle. Because, like, I feel like it doesn't do enough damage. Like, 15 just isn't really enough to justify the opportunity cost of 3 energy. And there's just so many AoE fights where Mangle just is a dead card in your hand. Mangle is bad, piercing well, so still good. I mean, that's a good way to look at it. But the thing is, we don't have a heart, right? We don't have a guaranteed fight at the end of every run that has a fucking, like, 5 times 15 attack. Right? Closest you get to that is, like, Queen, I guess, with the times 5. But it's not even a guarantee. You also have Specimen with the times 3. But, like, I feel like you'd rather have draw tools and other defensive tools instead of a Mangle. It's not a bad card, but I think it's so much worse than stuff like Piercing Whale, right? So it probably goes B. Offering, SS. Not even fucking close. 1-2 punch, which is just double tap with a different name. Probably B. Depends on how many pommel strikes you have in your deck, yet again. If you have a lot of pommel strikes, 1-2 punch is better. If you don't have a lot of pommel strikes, 1-2 punch kind of sucks. Because very often, if you're drawing 5 cards a turn, right? You're drawing the 1-2 punch. That means you only have 4 opportunities to draw a card you want to use with it. And if you're drawing an attack that costs too much, and like 2 defensive cards, and your last card is a strike, you feel like an idiot. Thoughts on it lasting between turns? It doesn't. It says this turn. It would be very good if it lasted between turns. But it doesn't. Because if it lasted between turns, you could almost guarantee that it hits a pommel strike, right? If you draw the pommel strike with it, you play it with it. And if you don't, you play it at the end of your turn. That would be way too good. It's other cards like the Defect. I don't think the new Amplify lasts between turns, does it? It's just the ones that that makes the next card cost 0 that lasts between turns. Anyways, Pact's End. Probably B. Yeah, probably B. That's pretty good. Pillage. SS. Fucking broken ass card. Would you like to have a pommel strike? Except, it can... instead of needing to upgrade it, you just gamble for a fucking draw 5 instead? At worst, it's a pommel strike that can't be upgraded. Which is still okay. It's not better than a pommel strike, but it's acceptable. Like, you would rarely turn down an unupgraded Pommel Strike. It's just that good. And at best, it's draw 9. Draw 10, actually. But realistically, on average, this is basically a pre-upgraded Pommel Strike. Right? It's basically on average draw 2. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But it's always at least 1, which is just Pommel Strike. So it's really good. Pillage is broken. Might be the strongest new card, actually. Primal Force. Hey, it's fine. The biggest problem is that it's only good early. Signal boost does indeed last between turns. Does it? Oh, I didn't know that. You need energy to play the card it gives. That's not even the problem. The problem with Primal Force is that the rocks don't exhaust. So you're replacing your strikes with slightly better strikes that are still just strikes. Like, that's a card in your deck that you have to draw that's not a Pommel Strike, a Bloodletting, a Battle Trance, a Shrug, a Burning Pact. Why would you want one of those? If they exhausted when you play them, this card would be SS for sure. It would be very, very good. But because they don't exhaust, it's kind of eh. Equilibrium is gone. It's not gone. It's a colorless card now. It'll be broken. Actually, yeah, it would be way too good. It would be basically just Fiend Fire, but way better. Not way better. That's not true. Because it can't get rid of statuses and curses. But still very good. Also, Primal Force itself definitely should exhaust. I think they should make that change. Because, like, the second time you draw it, it feels so bad. Like, yes, I would love to turn these giant rocks into giant rocks. Amazing. Perfect. Or it should be able to target strike, or it should be able to target skills. Like, the fact that it just turns strikes into other strikes is just really ugh. Honestly, I've talked. I mean, it is good enough in Act 1 to be A, I think. Maybe it's good enough in Act 1 to be S, but it's just so bad later on. Anyways, Pyre. Honestly, Pyre's probably B. The turn you play it, it's -2. The next turn, it's ±0. And it's only 3 turns from now that it starts being energy positive, and you wasted a card draw for it, and slowed down your first turn. It's often worth playing and picking up and all that, but, like, you could have spent that first turn exhausting bad cards instead, which would have made you draw into Pommel Strikes and your other sources of gaining energy, like Bloodletting and Expect to Fight on the reshuffle. Pyre is a good way of enabling your other cards if you don't have premium energy generation and you just have a lot of draw, which can happen, but otherwise it's just kind of not that good. in my experience. Rage. Rage is better than it was in Slay the Spire 1 because pillage exists. Is Mummified Hand still in STS2? Yeah, I got a run yesterday where I had Mummified Hand, the new relic that's just heat sinks. On defect. I ended up with like 5 storm pluses. Dude, that shit popped off, man. Anyways, Rage, okay, so Rage is better, but it's still not amazing. I think the biggest issue with Rage is that by default, you would rather remove strikes than defense. Which means that it's in a really awkward spot where, like, if you remove defense to make the Rage better, when you don't draw the Rage, you just fucking take 20. And if you remove strikes, the Rage isn't that great. It's also a skill itself, and because the best time to use Rage is when you have some sort of pillage anger bullshit going, drawing Rage interrupts your card draw, which is really unfortunate. It's still pretty decent, I think. But it kind of needs to be upgraded as well. It probably goes in B. 07 event. Yeah, my bad. I got distracted. Rupture. Probably C. Second Wind. Is Second Wind still SS? Maybe not, honestly. I think Dark Embrace being a rare has made it so that Second Wind isn't SS anymore. I think it's an S now. Rampage is still complete trash. Spite. Claw but bad? Yeah, pretty much. How many hours did it take to reach Ascension 10 on every class? Something like 70 hours-ish? Spite is really good if you already have a way to enable it. Like, it's an auto pick if you have a way to enable it. But if you don't, it's really bad. That's not even true. It's not really bad when you don't have a good way to enable it. It's okay. Like, at worst, it's just, like, a slightly worse anger. You know, when I think about it that way, Spite might be really good, actually. Because, like, even just 0 cost deal 6 isn't awful. And it upgrades to be 0 cost deal 9. If you have any sort of self-damage, it's probably S. If you don't, it's probably B. I think I'm okay putting it in A. Even with a buff, Rampage scales too slow. Yeah, like, imagine if scaling... If instead of headbutting the Rampage, you headbutted... Expect a Fight. To play, like, 4 more attacks next turn. It's gonna take, like, 10 turns for Rampage to outpace that. Stampede. Stampede is ass, honestly. Multiple Stampedes is OP? I don't think so. Because I feel like early game, if you don't upgrade it, you have to waste. It's basically -1 energy when you play it, because you get 1 strike just on the turn you play it, right? But it can't be played on the same turn as Bash unless you upgrade it, which is kind of rough. I guess you can use it to try to hit Bash with it. Stampede is energy pretty much. The biggest issue with it is that the premium attack you want to add to your deck is Pommel Strike. And Pillage. And, like, Anger, I guess. Right? And, like, Headbutt. And all of those attacks do so much more if you play them during your turn than if you play them at the end of your turn. Stampede is like a good way to cope when you weren't offered any Pommel Strikes, basically. In my experience, it just hasn't been that good, though. I mean, it's basically the same as Spire, right? It's energy negative on the turn you play it most of the time. And it takes a few turns to be energy positive. Except you don't have the flexibility of using that energy for skills or for draw. So it's probably just a slightly worse Spire. I can put it in B. Who up stoking their shit right now? Stoke is probably SS. Fucking insane card. Stomp. I never picked it once. I got offered Stoke every run. My bad. Yeah, Stoke is insanely broken. Get rid of 3 strikes or defends, draw 3 cards, and enable exhaust synergy. And on top of that, it upgrades to cost 0. Jesus Christ. That card is broken. Stomp? Probably S. Stomp carries the fuck out of your early game. Is like the biggest thing with it. Ironclad doesn't have the best common AoE cards. Right? Like it's all your only real common AoE cards are Thunderclap and Breakthrough. And Stomp is just so much better than Breakthrough. And Thunderclap, like, it's an AoE card, but it's not really meant to be an AoE damage source, right? And so Stomp is a really, really good way of carrying your Act 1. It's pretty bad later on. I mean, it's not even that bad later on, because later on, it's kind of just a slightly worse Anger. But it's AoE. It's like an AoE Anger-ish. Because once you start playing a lot of attacks in a turn, Stomp costs 0, and it's 12 damage AoE for 0. Like, that's pretty good. And it's really good in Act 1. Is it SS? Probably not. Looking at the quality of cards in SS, it doesn't make it there. But it's S for sure, yeah. I've talked myself into S for sure. Stone Armor. I've never picked Stone Armor. That shit can't be good, man. It's B. I could see it. Like, you can look at it as, like, gain 4 block this turn and 3 block next turn. Kind of like dodge and roll, which is not great. But if you upgrade it, it's 6 block this turn, 5 block next turn, and then 4 block the turn after that. Because 2 block doesn't really matter. 2 block isn't meaningful. But 4 is, right? So plating gets a lot better when you have a lot of it, right? So I think the upgrade on Stone Armor being 6 makes upgraded Stone Armor a pretty good card. But unupgraded Stone Armor is, like, really bad. I feel like the devs overrate plating a lot. The main reason for that is because even just one more plating would be just too big of an upgrade. Right? Because one more plating is one more armor every turn and one more turn of value. So, like, the difference between 4 and 5 is massive. I think if Stone Armor was 5 and upgrades to 6 instead of 4 and upgrades to 6, it would be A, for sure. Maybe even S, because, like, that's a lot of fucking block. Anyways, Tank. That's another co-op card, okay. Taunt. Isn't Jackpot insane? What is Jackpot? What? Jackpot is colorless? What does it do? That gives you 3 zero-cost cards. Oh! Yeah, that's pretty good, right? What are the zero-cost cards for Ironclad? Spite? Primal Force? Drum of Battle? Is it colorless cards, or is it class cards? It's class cards, right? It can give you any card at 0 cost? Wait, what? Oh, that's fucking broken. What? Yeah. What the hell? What's a good way to play around the Doormaker? I mean, Doormaker is probably the easiest of the bosses. Because it doesn't really have a cringe mechanic. Queen can completely destroy your ass if you don't have enough draw. And, if you're playing a skill-heavy deck that doesn't front-load a lot of damage, you just die on turn 1 against Specimen. Doormaker is kind of just a deck quality check. Because it does more damage and, like, it does damage more consistently, but it doesn't have any mechanics. So it's just, is your deck powerful enough to deal with a big guy? There's no real strategy to it. I've just learned that Searing Blow did not make a return into STS2. I wonder if they have Searing Blow in the get a card from the past event. Probably not, right? Because it would be here. Because Dual Wield and Entrench are here. So my deck is worse than I thought. If you're dying a Doormaker, it's probably because you don't have good enough defensive tools. Doormaker is the tankiest of the bosses. And unlike the other bosses, it doesn't really give you free turns or Or, like, get its attack interrupted by you phasing it, like the specimen, right? I mean, technically it does get its attack interrupted. Right? When you open the door, do you does Doormaker attack on its first spawn? I don't remember. Okay, you know what? I'm changing the category to Slay the Spire. Fuck Genshin. I'm not doing any more Genshin today. We'll do this tomorrow. Ascension 10 on every character. Ranks. Cards. Very objectively. I am not that good. This might be the most successful one-person stunlock of all time, by the way. Anyways, Taunt. Taunt is fucking premium as hell. Is Taunt as it might be, actually. It's kind of broken, actually. Is it that good? It kind of needs an upgrade. But, like, having a card that does what Bash does, but it's also a defensive card, is just so fucking good. Because, like, worst case scenario, you taunt Strike, it does more damage than Bash and applies the same vuln, and also you get block. With an upgraded taunt, right? The reality is that there are only so many sources of vuln that the Ironclad has. And out of those sources, vuln that lasts multiple turns and costs less while also doing proactive things is just basically the best, right? The reason why Uppercut was so good in Slay the Spire 1 is because of the weak, right? Weakening enemies is just a very good defensive tool. But even if you weak, you still have to block. And with Uppercut, let's say an enemy's hitting you for 10, you uppercut them, bring that down to 7, you still need to defend, and you take 2. Right? With Taunt, upgraded Taunt, you also take 2, but you have 1 more energy, and you can play a defend. Actually, you have 2 more energy, right? Because uppercut taunt is 3 energy. Or sorry, uppercut defend is 3 energy. Taunt is 1. Taunt defend is 2. And you still have 1 extra energy to play around with to hit the vulnerable enemy. Or you can decide to take the 2 and play Bash to extend vuln duration by way more than uppercut does. And what you have to pay for it is you don't get 1 week next turn. But how often does that actually lead to you taking more damage? When you get 2 extra energy this turn. Very rarely. I think Taunt is the best vuln card. Tear Asunder. I have not picked Tear Asunder a single time. The one time I've played Tear Asunder, it's because I generated Tear Asunder randomly on the Regent. I don't remember how, but I remember I did. If you get relics that give you extra damage on vulnerable enemies, is it worth building vulnerable route or no? You always have vulnerable in your build on the Ironclad. Is it worth going for the vuln like package over other packages when you get the frog? No, it's not. If you already have a good setup for it, you can go for it. If not, you shouldn't pivot to that because of the frog. Frog gives you the same amount of value whether the enemies have 1 vuln or 30 vuln. Tremble and stuff like that. Honestly, the biggest issue with Tremble is like, if you see it as your first card reward, you kind of want it. But if you have any other source of vuln, it kind of sucks. Because it's just so much worse than Taunt, than Uppercut. I'd say it's also worse than Thunderclap most of the time. Paper Frog is how I got a 7.5k damage heavy blade in STS1. Wait, you want to see something cool? I didn't actually show this screenshot at the start of the stream because I forgot about it. I also did this. So, remember that screenshot I showed earlier of the Austie having like 27,000 HP? Deal 27,383 times. Replays this card an additional 303 times. You guys think a boss dies to that? This kills the Specimen Phase 3 through Intangible at 300 HP. Like, yeah. How? I had the colorless rare card that adds replay 3 to a card in your deck. And I got Dolly's Mirror, so I duped it. And it can hit itself. So you can start stacking replay. A glitch? It's not a glitch. Like, that is how the card should work if it does what it says it does. Anyways, Thrash. Hidden Gem is so getting nerfed. I could see them making it replay 3, replay 4, but cost 2 energy instead of replay 2, replay 3 costs 1. Because it makes it a lot more committal to go for it. And if you whiff, you just die. Or they could give it exhaust, but I think that's kind of boring. Like, I like that a card like Hidden Gem exists. That allows some, like, very rare infinites. And very rare synergies. Anyways, Thrash, is it SS? Maybe. Probably, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's such a good fucking card. Is it worth getting 2 Thrash in your deck? It's okay. But if you want to have Thrash, like, double dipping in value, you really want to have, you really want to have Juggling instead. Juggling is a great way to get multiple Thrash. Does Thrash need Headbutt or something to work? No, because at worst, it's just an attack version of True Grit. Even if you don't use it to scale, it's just at worst an attack version of True Grit. Like, it's really good. But it can also be your main source of damage and carry your run. Unmovable. The first time you gain block from a card each turn, double the amount gained. I haven't picked this card a single time, so I'm not sure. I think it's good, but... How does Thrash consuming Thrash work? It just adds the current damage. Oh, also, if you have Juggling, right, which adds a copy of the third card of the third attack you play, and if the third attack you play is Thrash, it adds a copy of Thrash after it gains a damage buff, not before. And if you have 2 Jugglings, you get 2 of those, and you get 2, like, 30 damage Thrash, and one of them consumes the other. And you now have a 60 damage Thrash in your discard pile, as well as a 30 damage Thrash. And then on the next reshuffle, play 2 attacks. Third attack is the 60 damage Thrash, consumes the 30. It's now 90. It's in your hand. You have 2 of them, and you use it. You get 180, and you have now a 180 and a 90 in your discard pile. And then the enemy's dead. So you can't really go any further than that, because enemies just aren't tanky enough to survive more than that. But yeah. Unmovable, I don't know. I think Unmovable is good, but I've never needed it, so I'm not sure. Thrash can carry a mid deck, yeah, exactly. Like, Thrash by itself can be enough damage to carry your run. Picking up Thrash makes it so that you don't need strength, right? So you don't need to start spending 3 energy on demon form and shit like that. You don't need to spend 2 energy on Hellraiser to try to get an infinite with strikes going. And you can focus literally every other part of your deck on not dying and drawing through your deck and thinning it. And Thrash itself helps you thin the deck too. So it's just such a powerful card. It's a one-man army, basically. Yeah. I don't know how good Immovable is. I think it's good, but I mean, it's gotta be good, man. Is the upgrade that it costs 1? Probably, right? Because what else would it upgrade? Innate, maybe? There's no shot they'd make this shit innate, though. I think innate would be too good. 1 energy, yeah. The biggest problem is that so many of the premium block card for Ironclad kind of allow you to overblock. So I feel like it's only really good if you have Barricades. But if you have Barricade, like, you don't need this. You already have all the block you need. You'd rather this be another Shrug. I don't know. I'm not going to rank it because I haven't really played with it, but I don't think it's that good. Unrelenting. Unrelenting is probably A. Like, at worst, it's a 1-cost attack, right? Because it'll discount a strike. So you'll play 2 energy for Unrelenting plus strike. I think the biggest issue with Unrelenting is that unupgraded Unrelenting is 12 and upgraded is 18. It's such a massive damage up on the upgrade. But also, if you only have Bash as your source of vuln in the deck, it feels so bad. Because you can't play Bash into Unrelenting, you have to Unrelenting into Bash, and then the enemy's not vuln for your Unrelenting damage. With juggling, it's really good. The biggest issue is that it can be difficult to have Unrelenting be the third attack you play because it costs 2. You need to already have Anger going in order to do that. And if you already have Anger going, you probably don't need the Unrelenting. I don't think it's a bad card, but I don't think it's on the same level as shit like Stomp or Anger, Headbutt, Pommel. Yeah. Uppercut. Uppercut is probably S. I think Taunt existing makes Uppercut a bit less valuable because Taunt is just better than Uppercut. But Uppercut is still good, for sure. Vicious. Uppercut is the only weak for Ironclad now. Yeah, but... Okay, one, that's not entirely true. Colossus is effectively weak for Ironclad. Because Ironclad has so much vuln now that enemies are always vulned. And Colossus is basically just weak but better. But I don't know. I just think the tools you have access to on Ironclad are so much better now. Defensively. Maybe Uppercut is still SS, actually. Like, I do think it's worse than Taunt. But maybe it's not worse enough to be in a different tier entirely. Like, even in S, it's still a good card, right? I have Armaments, Headbutt, True Grit here, right? But maybe it is SS. I don't know. Like, I guess it is kind of an auto pick. You probably pick it over a lot of these if you don't have Taunt. Yeah, okay, sure. Vicious. Bro, when I saw Vicious for the first time, I bat-chested. But I don't think Vicious is that good. Is a pretty good upgrade. It is. All right, like the way to think about Vicious is it turns your Thunderclaps, it turns your Bash, it turns your Taunt into more Pommel Strikes, which is very good. But it's only good if you already have a bunch of those. If you only have the Bash as your source of vuln, it's ass, and you need to upgrade it. If you have Bash plus 1, like Bash plus Taunt, Bash plus Thunderclap, Bash plus Uppercut, it's all right, and you still kind of need to upgrade it. And it's only great if you have more than that. But a lot of those good vuln cards also need upgrades, right? Uppercut needs to be upgraded. Taunt needs to be upgraded. I guess Tremble doesn't, but Tremble isn't that great with Vicious, right? It's okay, but it's meh. Vicious is probably B. Because it just you get too much upgrade debt from Vicious because you need to upgrade it and the cards that are supported by it. Right, and Ironclad has so many cards that want to be upgraded. Right? Look at the other cards in B. Yeah. Yeah. I think it belongs here. Maybe Iron Wave is a fraud here though. Maybe Iron Wave should be lower. Sure, let's put down Iron Wave. But the other cards here, I think are on a similar level. My goodness, sorry. Your list is similar to one top layer one I saw. I mean, that makes sense. I'm the GOAT. I'm ranking the cards objectively after all. Whirlwind, I think, is complete ass now. Is it true? Is that true? I don't know. The fact that the ways of generating energy from Ironclad right now, other than Bloodletting, right? The other ones are Expectified, Forgotten Ritual. Both of these kind of rely on you already having a lot of draw, already having a lot of other things you can do with your energy. Makes Whirlwind a lot worse. Like, if Expectified is giving you a lot of energy, you have attacks to play instead of Whirlwind. So Whirlwind isn't a great source of single target damage anymore, right? It used to be a good way to capitalize on energy generation on the Ironclad. Now it's kind of not. But it is a good source of early AoE. But the fact that Stomp exists as like an actual good AoE card now makes me really iffy on Whirlwind, especially because it needs an upgrade. Is it better to get Slay the Spire 1 rather than 2 as someone new to the game/genre? If you want the maximum enjoyment, I would get both. Play 1 and then eventually play 2. I think Slay the Spire 2 is a better game, but I also think that Slay the Spire 1 has a few issues that were kind of fixed in 2. And if you start with 2, when you go to 1, you'll notice a lot of them. But they're not really noticeable. But it's like, if you start with 2, you'll know what you're missing out on when you play 1. And that's very tragic, because 1 is already such a good game, right? But I think there's more replayability in 2. And if you start with 2 and you go to 1, you'll be like, I feel like there's only like 3 strategies I can do. Is there a difference in difficulty or just quality? At first, I thought 2 was harder. I don't know if that's the case anymore. I think it might be easier at a high level, but harder to get into for 2. Because a lot of the strategies are less straightforward in 2. Basically, every character in 2 kind of feels like the Watcher did when they came out initially, right? They're not as strong as the Watcher, but it's like the getting a feel for how you're supposed to play is harder in 2. Hard is still insanely hard in this CS1. Honestly, I disagree. I don't think the hard is that hard. Like when I did Ascension 20, a lot of Ascension 20 gaming on Slay the Spire 1. If I got to the hard, there was like a 90% chance I would kill it. When I died, it was pretty much always before that. But honestly, a lot of that is because the thing I played the most was the Silent, and the Silent just has such great tools against the Heart. Right? Wraith Form, Piercing Wail, and just a lot of card draw that makes your first turn reliably good. But yeah, the other cards I haven't really played around with, so I can't really rank them. Actually, no, I said Whirlwind. Whirlwind goes in like, I mean, it's still a source of AoE for early game, so it probably goes in B. How many hours do you have in Slay the Spire 1 and 2? In 1, I have 1,600. In 2, I have almost 100 now. Dismantle is kind of cracked. Is it? Like, I can see it being very powerful early. But later on, it just feels like it's worse. So much worse than a Pommel. Dude, Pommel just really needs to become an uncommon. It's just... them removing... or them adding a lot of, like, ways to scale your damage that aren't just strength scaling for the Ironclad has made a lot of the alternate common attacks so much worse, right? I think Twin Strike is so now. Setup Strike is dog shit, honestly. And removing Entrench also kind of makes Body Slam a lot worse, right? Sword Boomerang is kind of ass now. And there's such a big gap between runs that get early pommels and runs that don't. Like, honestly, this might need to be how it is here. Because I don't think Pommel is necessarily better than a card like Dark Embrace or Feed or Offering or whatever. But the difference is that you get multiple Pommels in your run. Almost always, right? And having 3 Pommels in your deck is way more impactful than having 1 Offering, having 1 Impervious, having 1 Stoke. Maybe Dark Embrace goes here too. Sure. That's like the only card that does single-handedly as much as a bunch of Pommels do is Dark Embrace. Fair. Sure. This is the card draw tier. Maybe Vicious is better than I give it credit for. But I don't know. Yeah, like... by the way, the reason why Pommel is so much better now is because, 1, they made Bloodletting a common. 2, they didn't remove Offering. 3, they made Berserk good. 4, they added 2 new cards that generate a bunch of energy. Like, what the fuck were they cooking, actually? I think Pummel actually needs a nerf. Yeah, and Stroke exists too, right? Fucking hell, man. It's hard to go a run without seeing energy. Exactly, right? I mean, I get why they did that, because they removed energy relics. But, like, they added too much energy, I think. It's impossible to go a run without seeing draw, too. Yeah, but the difference is that having energy doesn't make more energy better. But having draw does make more draw better. Because the more draw you have, the more likely you are to draw into your other premium draw. My god, Baku giving me 1 energy just so he can play turn 1 like I would. True, actually. I did a multiplayer run a little while ago. I don't remember who it was with. Where wait, was it the one I played with Nick? I don't remember. It might have been. Where we both went for Vaku. So both of our turn 1 was just Vaku fucking around. Oh. Okay, should we do it for another character? I'm down to do it for another character. Do stream with Nick? I wasn't streaming, but I joined him when he played Slay the Spire 2 on stream. Alright, let's do Silent. We don't need this many tiers. Let's remove this one. Or I guess I'm gonna stay consistent with the last one. Okay, so actually, before we do anything else here, let me just find Prepared real quick. Where is Prepared? There is Prepared. Okay, Prepared goes in here. Okay. There we go. So, like, in Slay the Spire 1, Prepared was already one of the best cards the Silent had. And that was when there were only 2 cards that had the equivalent of Sly. Now there's like 10. And you can give Sly to your backflips and your acrobatics themselves. Like, what the fuck, man? I vote for also acrobatics in that tier. No, I don't think so. Acrobatics is also incredibly powerful, but the main difference between acrobatics and prepared is that the Silent has a lot of card draw tools and not a lot of energy tools. The only real energy tool the Silent has is Tactician. And because it's uncommon, you don't find it every run. So if you don't have a Tactician, acrobatics is a lot worse. It's still good, but it's a lot less good. Part of what made acrobatics on a similar level to prepared in Slay the Spire 1 was, 1, there were less cards that did things when you discarded them, so just having 0 cost, draw, and discard wasn't as powerful. And 2, unlike prepared, acrobatics is hand size positive, and hand size positive means that it makes calculated gamble better. And calculated gamble did not exhaust when you upgraded it in Slay the Spire 1. So being hand size positive on acrobatics meant that you could enable calculated gamble to be more powerful. Calculated gamble is still so good somehow. I mean, even like unupgraded calculated gamble was very good in Slay the Spire 1. It's just that it wasn't a build around card if you didn't upgrade it. Anyways, I think the only other card I will have in that tier is Adrenaline. Right? Adrenaline is one of the silence. I think they only have 2, right? Like, literally every card included. I think they only literally have 2 cards that give energy. Right? Tactician and Acrobat and Adrenaline. Bullet time. Bullet time isn't real energy, because the reason why you want energy is because drawing and discarding is fucking broken. So you want to have energy to play your acrobatics, to play your backflip, to play your whatever. Unless you get production for colorless, that's true. But you need to actually find it, right? Anyways, Abrasive. Abrasive is like probably S. It's a pretty good card. Like, it's good for multiple reasons, right? One, it's a good defensive tools because Dex is good. 2, it's a good offensive tools because of Thorns. And 3, and most importantly, it's a discard synergy card that you can add to your deck without it without it becoming harder to go infinite. Because it's a power, so once you play it, you don't redraw it. I don't think it would be worse if it was a skill, because like if you could get like 10 decks from this, 40 Thors, like it would be fucking great too. But yeah, I don't know, it's just really nice. Accelerant. Catalyst died so Accelerant could live. The biggest issue with Accelerant is that it's not a discard synergy card. Poison is just so much weaker now than it was in Slay the Spire 1. And Accelerant is kind of like a catalyst that you can pre-play, but that you can't burst. And it's a rare, so you're probably not finding more than one of them. But the thing that made Catalyst so strong in Slay the Spire 1 was that with Catalyst in your deck, there were a bunch of ways where applying poison once into fucking around with Catalyst insta-killed the enemy. And Accelerant can't do that. You need to actually have a bunch of poison on the enemy for Accelerant to actually triple its damage. Right, because if you have 5 poison on the enemy, you burst Catalyst, that's 45 poison, and now he's going to die in a few turns. If you Accelerant, it just does, 15 damage, and then the enemy doesn't have poison anymore. Isn't sacking Sly poison with Accelerant kind of good? Nah. If your deck is able to actually properly have enough poison from Sly to kill enemies, you would have killed them like 30 times already with any other synergy. Accelerant is C, just like it's a good poison card, but it kind of needs to have, I don't, corrosion wave is what it's called, I think. Corrosion wave. You kind of need to have that for it to work. Accuracy. Accuracy is probably C as well. It's fine. The problem with accuracy is that it doesn't have Sly synergy. Sly is just too good. Anyways, acrobatics, SS. Afterimage, S probably. Anticipate. I feel like Afterimage got a lot worse in SCS2. The main thing that made Afterimage worse is, what's it called? Let me see if I can find it. There, Untouchable. The thing is, Afterimage allows you to block reliably every turn, even before you have a full Sly engine going. With Untouchable, there's going to be turns where you don't draw it. And you have to spend so much energy on blocking. The biggest upside of Afterimage, sorry, is that just like Abrasive, because it's a power, once you play it once, you don't redraw into it. So it's a relatively good tool if you find it fairly early. But it also is a great tool late. I just like it as a whole. Anticipate, I think, is just not something you need. Your defensive tools on silent, yeah, like your other defensive tools are kind of strong enough. So I just don't think it's that good. There's also, like, I don't know if it's just that I'm delusional, but I feel like you get less frail in Slay the Spire 2. Because I remember in Slay the Spire 1, once I got better at Silent, I started picking Deflect very often and getting upgraded Deflect. Because upgraded Deflect was just such a powerful defensive tool through Frail because of the way that it rounded to 5. And because so many things are really annoying when your defense only block for 3 in Act 2. But that was because Act 2 had so much Frail. Like, every fight applied Frail. I feel like... there's just less Frail from enemies now. Anyways, Assassinate. Assassinate is probably A. Maybe it's S, honestly. Big Backstab. The biggest difference between Assassinate and Backstab is that it's just a way better Backstab. Like, it's so much better. Terror doesn't exist anymore, right? So if you want Vuln, it's only Assassinate or Expose. Both of which don't apply that much Vuln, right? So just having some source of Vuln can be very nice. But it's not necessary. I think that so many of the offensive tools from Silent have, or either don't benefit from Vuln, or have even, or have odd numbers, right? Like if you look at I don't know where it is, Flick Flack, which is one of the fairly powerful early slide tools, right? 7 damage. 7 damage with Vuln is 10, right? Because it rounds down. It's plus 3 damage, which is fine, but it's not insane. Where's the 2-cost Sly attack? Ricochet? 3 damage with Vuln is 4. So many, like, a lot of the silent stuff either isn't attack damage, so it doesn't benefit from Vuln, or is an odd number, so it gets rounded down from the way that Slay the Spire does rounding in general, which makes Vuln just a lot worse. Vuln is, like, at its best for shivs, because shivs are an even number, and pretty much no matter how you buff them, they're always an even number. Unless it's, like, external buffs through like Vajra or shit like that. I guess Assassinate is a lot better if you have Vajra, right? Because any source of +1 strength that makes your odd numbers even is meaningfully more impactful on Vuln, because it's +2 damage instead of +1. I never thought about Vuln that way. Yeah, that's why I don't think Breakthrough is that much better than Cleave. Because the difference between 8 and 9 is just not that big, because on Vuln, it's only between 12 and 13. And Ironclad gets Vuln always. Anyways, Backflip. Backflip and SS, probably. Backstab is worse now, I think. Because Silent just has so many other tools. The fact that your discard package can deal damage by itself, rather than just being a draw engine to get to low-cost damage, is just such a big fucking deal, and it makes cards like Backstab a lot worse, I think. But, like, also, notice how Backstab is also an odd number, 11 damage. Yeah. Unlucky. It's probably B. Honestly, maybe Anticipate is better than B. I'm not sure. Anyways, Blade Dance. Blade Dance is an interesting one, because I think that the biggest downside of Blade Dance exhausting now is that it feels a lot worse to upgrade. Because, like, realistically, 1 energy deal 16 is fucking great, even if it exhausts. But if it exhausts, you feel a lot worse about upgrading it, and 1 energy deal 12 is not nearly as good. It's still pretty decent, though. So I think it still goes in A. Or in S, sorry. Does it go in S? No, it goes in A, and so does Assassinate. Blade of Ink. Shiv synergy is not the best. But it's still a pretty decent card for discard. So it probably goes B. Because Ricochet exists and is a common card, I think it goes B. Because you can play a Blade Dance, like play Blading, play a Blade Dance, get 8 strength, and then Acrobatics into Ricochet, and deal 11 damage 5 times. Alright, so that's pretty fucking good. Blur. I think Blur is worse now because it's so fucking easy to just go infinite. If you're full blocking this turn, you're probably full blocking next turn too. It's still a fine card, but I think it goes B. Shiv stuff just bloats your deck. I feel like you'd rather just draw. Yeah, that's why I have Blade Dance in A, because it exhausts once you play it. So it's a good tool for like front-loaded damage, and you don't need to remove it from your deck later on if you go for Shiv synergy, or for discard synergy. Bouncing Flask. How do we feel about bouncing on it here? I don't think we like bouncing on it anymore. And see, I think bouncing on it is a lot worse than it used to be. I think it goes B. Does it? Nah, it goes Z. Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of AoE fights where it just feels awful. And the other stuff is just so much stronger. What is even the name of this? Is it just Bubble Bubble? Bro, this card sucks ass. In order for this card to be pickable, you need to already have other cards that apply poison, and other cards that apply poison aren't cards you want to pick unless you have no other good options. Bullet Time. Bullet Time is a lot worse than Slay the Spire 2. Because all of your good stuff is related to drawing. If you have 2 energy to play Bullet Time plus, it's probably better spent drawing through your deck more and discarding more stuff. Would it be possible to read a quick card description? Yeah, I can. So, Bullet Time reduces all the cost of all cards in your hand to 0. You can't draw any more this turn. I mean, it's still not a bad card, because, like, it allows you to play your powers on your first turn, if you have a bunch of powers you need to play to get your discard engine going. But you'll generally have other things, other ways to do that as well. Burst. Burst is an SS, I think. Yeah. I'm only happy to get it from Transformer. I don't pick it. I think it's pickable if you already have like Master Planner and Serpent Form, or Serpent Form and Speedster, or something like that, right? Where like you would be really happy to spend your turn 1 using Acrobatics to draw basically a full hand, and then using Bullet Time, and then playing like 2 powers while still full blocking. That's the main time when you want to pick it. Anyways, Calculated Gamble, easy SS. It's not as good as Prepared because it exhausts. So if you have to choose between the two and you don't have a Prepared yet, you always pick Prepared over Cal Gamble now, because you need a way to actually enable your discard over and over. That's not necessarily true. If you have a Tactician already, you might pick Cal Gamble over Prepared if you have Acrobatics as well. But if you don't have Tactician, I think you always pick Prepared over Cal Gamble. And an uncommon that needs another uncommon to be at this level just isn't at this level, right? Yeah. Corrosive Wave. Corrosive Waves is one of the ways that Discard Silent can deal damage. It's probably the most damage that you can deal, but it's also not a power, so you have to pop off on the same turn where you play it. And or play it every turn for -1 energy. So I don't actually think it's as good as the other damage engines for Sly. I haven't been able to make that work. I mean, I have been able to make it work, for sure. But it's felt like you had to go through more hoops than just Speedster. Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger is fine. Probably B. You're not too happy to pick it, but because Blade Dance exhausts now, if you want a good way of having a bunch of shivs, Cloak and Dagger is definitely pickable. Iron Wave it better. Yeah, but one energy on the Ironclad and one energy on the Silent are not worth the same amount. Because the Ironclad has a lot of ways of generating energy and the Silent doesn't. Dagger Spray. This might be the biggest glow down in the whole class, actually. Dagger Spray is so ass now. Why would I deal 8 for 1 energy when I could deal 7 for 0 energy? I feel like without Boss Relic, Silence still needs Tactician. Not necessarily. You need either Tactician or Master Planner or multiple copies of Prepared. Now, getting any of those things, like getting a specific one of those things, won't happen reliably, but getting any of them happens quite a lot more reliably. Anyways, Dagger Spray is probably C now. It's just so much worse. Dagger Throw. I wonder if Dagger Throw is better or worse than it used to be. Because on one hand, it's damage that costs energy, and that's not good. When you can have damage that doesn't cost energy. But on the other hand, it's an early enabler for discard synergy if you don't have a lot of prepareds yet. It's probably on a similar level. I'll put it in A. Dash also got a massive glow down, I think. Probably in C. We can put it in B. It's better than Dagger Spray. Deadly Poison, also pretty big glow down. Goes in C. Deflect. Deflect isn't as important as it used to be. I think with footworks getting worse, and with Sly having access to block without needing energy, but also that is effectively hand size neutral instead of hand size negative, because you would have to discard a card anyways. I think Deflect, like, inside the Spire 1, I think I would have had Deflect, like, here or here. I would pick Deflect pretty much every time I saw it. Even if I had one, even if I, like, sometimes I wouldn't pick Deflect if I already had two, or if I already had really good block engines, if my draw was backflips already, or something like that. But now, I think if you have one Deflect, you don't really want a second one. And there are situations where you don't even want the first Deflect either. So I think it goes in A. Looking at this, I don't know if Corrosive Wave is an S anymore. If it wasn't a rare, I think it would be an S. But as a rare, I don't think it goes in S. Dodge and Roll. I think Dodge and Roll also got worse. It's probably C now. Whatever the fuck the name of this card is. Echoing Slash. Echoing Slash. What's the card art for this? I can't tell. Okay, whatever. Echoing Slash is pretty good for Act 2. Because there's a lot of, like, very often in Act 2, you're not fully, like, you don't have your full package yet. And spending 2 energy on Speedster or something like that without being able to kill this turn against, like, the Locusts fight. I don't know what they're called, but, like, the fucking insect-looking ass enemies. Having a good way of dealing with AoE fights is kind of impactful. And it's a lot better than Dagger Spray, right? So much better than Dagger Spray. I think the biggest issue with it is that the Locust fight tends to be pretty easy on this island because Flick Flack exists, and because Weaken rounds down the 3x4 attack to 1x4, which is such an insane... Or, sorry, to 2x4. Wait, I'm an idiot. Yeah, it's... never mind. Why did I think it rounded down to 1x4? Am I an idiot? It's because yesterday I got the fucking relic that halves enemy damage when you play 2 cards. Or less. And my brain was still stuck on that. Okay, my bad. Anyways. I think Echoing Slash is like B. It's pretty okay, but it's not amazing. And Venom... I don't know. And Venom kind of just sucks now. They did buff it, but they nerfed poison too much. I think it's C. Escape plan is SS. Time meter doesn't exist anymore, so there is no reason not to click on escape plan. Like, literally no reason. Like, if you have other cards that are very good that you would rather have, sure. But escape plan is a card that is always better than skip. And there are not that many of those. Right? Like, very often you don't want to pick another acrobatics because you already have enough. You don't want to pick a backflip because you already have enough draw. Okay, maybe you always want to pick more calc gambles, but you wouldn't want, like, 80 calc gambles, because then you just play calc gamble until you run out of cards. Escape plan is just hand size neutral, cost 0, and sometimes gives you block. It's just good. It's just good. Like, just click on it. Better deflect? No. I think it's... I think there are a lot of times where it's worse than deflect. It's just that deflect sometimes you skip. Expertise. Expertise is weird, because I think if you already have Hand Trick, or if you have Master Planner, Expertise is insane. But because of how easy it is for Silent to draw a lot now, very often you end your turn with your hand basically full. You don't really empty your hand unless you have the cards that discard your hand. And if you have the cards that discard your hand, they'll discard Expertise too. So unless you give Expertise Sly, it doesn't really do anything. But one, the cards that discard your hand are rare cards, and two, the cards that enable Expertise to have Sly are either rare or uncommon. And Expertise is also a card that just feels really bad unupgraded, so you really want to upgrade it. With all of those negative things out of the way, it's still a pretty good card. I don't think it makes it into A anymore, though. I think it's B. Expose. Expose has the same problem as Assassinate, where Voln is just a lot worse on the Silent. With Shiv strategies being worse, and with a lot of the non-Shiv damage dealing rounding down with Voln, because it's an odd number. Removing Artifact also kind of doesn't do that much. It allows you to get Weaken. I think it's better than Assassinate, though. Because removing Artifact and applying Voln allows you to get Weaken if your damage dealing is coming from Sneaky. No, that's not the right one. From where is it? Tracking. If your damage is coming from tracking, then removing Artifact and applying Voln isn't times 1.5, it's times 3. Because removing Artifact allows you to weaken, which is really fucking powerful. And tracking is good. It's one of the damage engines you can have with a discard package. But it's not necessarily the best damage engine. And because a bunch of the damage engines aren't reliant on attack damage, Expose is not that amazing. I think it makes it to 8 anyways, though. Fan of Knives. Bro, what the fuck, man? This card is weird. I think Fan of Knives might be A. It's probably the best Shiv card. Can you zoom in like one tick? Sure. It makes Shiv playable. Unironically, no. I think that Fan of Knives isn't really a Shiv card. It's a card that like you put on your deck because you need AoE. Because your main damage engine hasn't really popped off. You haven't found a speedster for AoE, so your damage is relying on like Ricochet or whatever. And this is 2 energy deal 16, which is okay. Isn't Knife Trap okay? Eh. Knife Trap, I think, is a trap. You are the knife. You got caught in the trap. I don't know. Like, you look at Knife Trap and you compare it to like Voltaic on Defect, and you're like, why does Knife Trap exist? Like, what the fuck? Why is this a thing? I don't know. I mean, we'll get to Knife Trap later. Finisher. I don't know. Finisher kind of sucks, I think. It wasn't that amazing in SCS1, but it wasn't awful. I guess Finisher does have synergy with Blade of Ink that I haven't played with that yet. Maybe that's a good way of enabling Shivs to be good. Right? Like, don't bother with the accuracy. Just try to get some Blade of Ink Finisher up my sleeve going. But that feels like it's too slow. I think that's the biggest problem with Finisher, is just too slow. Because, like, you're very rarely playing a lot of attacks on turn 1 anymore. Alright, previously, in Slay the Spire 1, with Blade Dance, right? You would use Blade Dance as your main damage engine in chip strategies. So, very often you would play a lot of attacks on turn 1. But the problem now is that because Blade Dance exhausts, if you're playing Shivs and you want to have a consistent source of Shivs, it's going to be with Up My Sleeve. And Up My Sleeve is more expensive to play, so you're playing less attacks on the first turn if you're playing Finisher. And by the time you would be able to play a lot of Shivs in a turn, Finisher kind of just feels eh. Meh. Finisher's probably in B, I guess. Flechette. Flechette's got worse. You have better things to be doing. Flechette's is better. Really? I don't think so. Okay, maybe that's not true. Maybe it did get better, but it's still not good. You got a numbers buff and you can fill your hand easier now? I guess. Yeah, I guess that's fair, honestly. Sure. We can put it in A. Flick Flack. Flick Flack is an S. Eh, Flick Flack might be SS, honestly. It's so fucking good, man. It's a card that says Sly on it. Best AoE card? I think Speedster is a better AoE card. Maybe not. Maybe it is better than Speedster. It doesn't solve AoE fights is the thing. After Act 1. Anyways, follow through. Follow through is A. Biggest issue with follow through is that it needs an upgrade, and in decks where you are going for weakened stuff with tracking, you need to upgrade neutralize. And when you need to upgrade neutralize and the cards you might want to pick also needs to be upgraded, it feels so much worse. You need to go to so many campfires because you need to upgrade your neutralize, you need to upgrade your follow through, and you need to upgrade the tracking. Anyways, footwork, probably C. It's just a lot worse now. Jesus Christ, footwork got a massive glow down. I didn't love footwork that much in Slay the Spire 1. Because Piercing Whale exists, really. And Piercing Whale being so much better than every other defensive tool that exists made it so that footwork was a bit less powerful than it otherwise would have been. But now you have even more defensive tools. I don't know. I don't like footwork. Grand finale. Yep, it's dog shit. If you have enough draw to make getting to grand finale something you can do reliably, you will probably see much better results out of Speedster. Which is the unfortunate reality. I think grand finale should do more damage than 50. I think it should be like 70. And like 80 on upgrade. Maybe not. I guess I haven't actually gotten grand finale in a tracking deck yet. But the problem is, like, both of those cards are rare. If you need tracking for grand finale to be good, that's not a thing, right? Anyways, hand trick. Hand trick is SS. It's a fucking amazing card. God, it's so good. Haze. Haze, I think, might be the worst Sly card. So probably B. Is poison bad? Yeah, poison's kind of bad, honestly. I think the only thing that really makes poison work is corrosive wave. Okay, that's not true. The only thing that makes poison work in a way where like you actively want to go out of your way to do it is corrosive wave. Haze isn't enough by itself because poison is a lot worse at low values. Like 8 poison is more than twice as good as 4 poison, especially with accelerant, right? With an accelerant plus 8 poison is 876, right? Which is 21 damage. 4 poison is 432, which is 9 damage, right? So it's more than double. And across 2 turns, 4 poison is 432 and then 1 for 10 damage. And 8 poison, it's 876 and then 5 for 25, more than triple. 26, sorry. So once you already have a 1 haze, a second haze becomes so much better. But if you have corrosive waves, or corrosive wave, haze is 4 poison, tactician is 9. Yeah, it's similar to plating, exactly. But it's even more so the case for poison, because poison can be built around with accelerant. So it ticks down even faster. Hidden Daggers. Discard 2 cards, add 2 shivs into your hand. I haven't picked this card very often, but I think it's pretty decent, honestly. It's good because it says discard 2 on it. The problem with that is that Prepared is a common card. And Acrobatics is a common card. I don't think that it's saying discard 2 is good. However, at worst, this is 0 cost deal deal 8, but you can't play it more than once a turn, right? Because like when you play it, you go Omega hand size negative. But you can always finish your turn with it because it always gives you 2 shivs, even if you don't discard 2. So I think it goes S. But it's not because of the discard synergy, unironically. Wasn't the Jeff supposed to do Azra's Kirk today? I was, but I woke up too late, so I'll do it tomorrow. Infinite Blades. Was ass, is ass. C. Knife Trap. Knife Trap is the second best Shiv card, I would say. After Fan of Knives. I guess Hidden Daggers is better, but like Hidden Daggers isn't really a Shiv card. Flanking SSS. Yeah, yeah. Flanking is fucking broken, but it's a co-op card, so I'm not going to talk about it. Leading Strike. Okay, you know what? Leading Strike is also a pretty good Shiv card. Is it? No, it's not. I mean, it's fine. It's okay. You can see the light is dimming down. Yeah, my lamp burnt, so this is just natural light. GG. Leading Strike is probably B. It's okay. Leg Sweep. Probably S. Weak is good, yeah. And Leg Sweep is premium weak. And it's a skill instead of an attack. which means you can give it Sly with Hand Trick, which is nice. Malaise. I haven't made Malaise work, actually. It feels like a lot of the enemies that have multi-hits aren't single target anymore. So it feels bad to use Malaise on them. I guess Beekeeper in Act 2 is fine. Used to be my favorite Time Eater card. Malaise ain't got shit on Piercing Whale against the Time Eater. Anyways. It's probably still A, though. It's a good card, but I don't think it's as good as it was in SCS 1. Because an energy spent on Malaise and an energy you could have spent on an Acrobatics that would have given you a bunch of Slice synergy and more draw. Master Planner, definitely SS. This shit is very good. Memento Mori is probably the worst payoff for discard stuff. I think it goes in B. It's pickable if you have really low damage early, but you're not happy with it. Mirage. Gain block equal to poison on all enemies. This shit sucks ass. Why does the enemy have poison on it? What are you doing? You clicked on the wrong cards. What are you doing? Murder. Murder? Personally, I'm a big fan of Murder. Murder is kind of pog, actually. Just like vaping. Murder is good. I think Murder is a great payoff for draw. It's kind of like a backloaded version of Speedster for single target. But the main thing with Murder is, like, you can just draw a bunch while defending, and once Murder would kill, you can use the energy to kill at the end instead of at the start. And if you use the energy at the start instead, you might take damage setting up your Speedster. So I think Murder is pretty good. And also, like, every time you play Murder, you deal damage equal to the amount of cards you drew. So if you play it more than one time, it's a way, way stronger damage engine than Speedster is. So against enemies that scale, Murder tends to be very good. I think... I don't know, how good is Murder? Like, what bosses kind of get cooked by Murder, or Speedster sucks against them? I feel like none of them do, right? Like, actually, maybe I don't know what it's called, the guy that gives you debuffs in Act 2. I guess Murder would be a lot better than Speedster against him. Backloaded payoff cards generally feel not great. IMO at Ascension 10. I think backloaded is inherently better than front-loaded here, because enemies don't get to attack you the turn you kill them. Right? So you effectively never have to deal with an attack on the turn where you deploy your damage if it's backloaded. Whereas if it's front-loaded, the turn you play your Serpent form, you will take a lot of damage unless you have a fuck ton of zero-cost block, right? But the problem is, what enemies actually get cooked by Murder that don't get cooked by Speedster? And I think the biggest issue with Murder is that it's not as good in Act 3. Because Speedster is, I think, quite a bit better against the Specimen. Because turn 1 Specimen doesn't really do that much damage if you don't play a lot of skills. So you're fine just face tanking a hit to deploy the Speedster. And dealing your damage early matters because if you play a lot, I mean, Silent in general plays a lot of skills. So phase 1 Specimen scales quite fast. And he'll scale faster than your Murder does. Then against the Queen, with Speedster, by the time you kill the Torchhead, the Queen is already half HP. So the upside of Murder scaling faster if you play it multiple times is alleviated by the fact that Speedster also just has less HP that it needs to go through because it's an AoE fight. And then what was the last thing? The last boss? Queen, Specimen, Doormaker. Doormaker is a joke. I think Murder is better against Doormaker than Speedster is, but I think Doormaker is a joke, so it doesn't really matter. I think Murder truly shines in Act 2. Because the Act 2 bosses... I mean, I guess the Crab isn't really a problem. I don't know. Murder is good against the fish in Act 1, but how often do you actually have a proper rare card with setup for it by the time you get to Act 1 boss? Kind of rarely. Murder's probably in B. I've kind of talked myself out of it. I like the card, but I think that the specific balance of Doormaker is making it a lot worse. The fact that the boss is the best against is the easiest of the bosses, I think makes it kind of eh. It's not bad. Anyways. I kind of want to rank Neutralize. I didn't rank Bash because Bash kind of sucks. Neutralize is actually an insanely good card. Neutralize is so good. I think Neutralize is the best starting card out of any of the characters. Maybe the Necrobinder starting cards are better. Do you always upgrade it early? Depends on the deck. It's a very good upgrade, but it's not a necessary upgrade. Because it's very possible that your deck has enough block that you don't need to have weak every turn. Or that your deck has enough weak through other good cards that you have weak every turn even without the upgrade. But there are cards that need upgrades to be good, like Prepared. So I end up keeping an unupgraded Neutralize pretty often. Nightmare. Nightmare isn't what it used to be, man. Them removing Wraith Form has made Nightmare so much worse. That being said, I think Nightmare is still S. Wraithform is still in the game, technically. Yeah, technically it is, but, like, you know what I mean. But yeah, because, like, the best targets for Nightmare in Slay the Spire 1 were Catalyze and Wraithform. Catalyze is gone entirely. Wraithform isn't a card you can pick anymore. It's a relic, and you might just not get it. However, Prepared is an insane Nightmare target now. Because the more Prepareds you have, the happier you are. No way Backflip is in the same tier as Acrobatics. I think the main reason why I have Backflip here is because there's only one Sly card that gives block. And you can't spend all your energy on draw unless you have a lot of the Sly card that gives block. Sometimes you need to spend some energy on block, and the best ways to do that are Hand Trick and Backflip. I'd rather just draft 2 to 3 more Prepares than a Nightmare usually. Yeah, but, like, one, you need to actually find the Prepareds. 2, you need to upgrade the Prepareds. And 3, I would take 6 Prepareds over 3 Prepareds any day of the week. I think you still pick Nightmare to target Prepared, even if you already have 3 Prepareds. Because Prepared is just so fucking broken now. And you're almost always finding at least 1 Prepared. And Nightmare making you able to effectively single-handedly allow you to go infinite just by single-handedly fixing your bad RNG of only finding 1 Prepared is insane. Yeah, the main reason why... Like, yeah, another reason why I have Acrobatics and Backflip on a similar level here is because Acrobatics is a good card, but it becomes less good when you have more Prepareds, and your main goal should be to have more Prepared when you play the Silent. The more Prepares you have, the more you'd start preferring Backflip over Acrobatics. Because it's the same hand size difference, but it does something proactive on top of that. And if you have a lot of Prepares already, you don't need to discard from Acrobatics in order to enable Sly. Anyways. Noxious Fumes. Bro. Noxious Fumes is some hot garbage now. Holy shit. I don't think it's D. I don't think it's as bad as A's. But, like, nah, this just ain't it. Outbreak. Okay. I guess, technically, Outbreak does have the upside of making your AoE fights very, very easy, right? If you're doing a Sly strategy around Corrosive Wave, and you kind of low roll your draw, when you're against 3 enemies, I think that Outbreak will deal the damage every time you apply poison. Right? Because it counts as applying 3 times if you apply poison 1 time to 3 enemies. But, like, I don't think that matters. I think you'd rather spend that 1 energy on defensive cards and just let the enemies die to poison instead of dealing the additional damage through Outbreak. Phantom Blades. Why does this exist? I guess the idea for Phantom Blades is that giving Shiv's Retain can be good for Blade of Ink, but, like, then don't make it so that only the first Shiv you play each turn deals more damage. Like, if you have Shivs on the turn you play it, it's basically 1 energy deal 9, which isn't awful, but, like, dude, I don't know. Then it would just be better accuracy. I mean, I would have liked to see something like, instead of the first Shiv you play each turn deals 9 additional damage, have something like the first Shiv you play each turn draws you a card. Or the first Shiv you play each turn generates a bit of block. So that it would actually make sense to take advantage of the retain with the cards that actually give you payoff for retaining them. Instead of just as a way to deal 9 damage a turn from Shivs, if you have some sort of Shiv generation. I would much prefer if it went in that direction instead. I think as it is, is it the worst Shiv card? It might be. It's not very good. Kind of only exists for Blade of Ink and having after image block. Blade of Ink and I guess tracking too, right? You want to make sure that you're using your Shivs while enemies are weakened, but meh. Meh. Piercing Whale. The heart doesn't exist, so it's not here anymore, but it's still a fucking insanely broken card. I actually don't think it's possible to have too many Piercing Whales. Like, straight up. I think you have 10 Piercing Whales, you still pick 1 more Piercing Whale. But also, you don't pick Piercing Whale over Prepared, like, ever. And there are a lot of times where you'll pick Acrobatics over Piercing Whale. It's kind of like Escape Plan, right? Where, like, you never skip a Piercing Whale, but you don't always pick it over the other strong options. Pick, like, 3, I feel, is enough. But, like, would you be unhappy having 2 Piercing Whales in your hand? Not really. If you don't need to use both, you can keep 1 for later, and if you do benefit from using both, then you'll prevent the enemy from dealing damage and have 1 leftover energy to do other things, and you effectively gain a turn of 1 energy. Like, it's good. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Piercing Whale is good. Pinpoint. Deal 17 damage, costs 1 less for each skill played this turn. Honestly, I haven't really picked Pinpoint very often, but I think it's pretty good. Because, like, this is effectively a 0-cost attack that does a pretty good amount of damage in proper synergies. Like, this can be your damage engine. And it's also good in Act 1. It feels kind of meh compared to having other cards in hand. The thing is, like, in Slay the Spire 1, I would almost auto-pick Slice. when I was playing discard decks. And Pinpoint is just way better than Slice for discard decks. But it's also arguably better in Act 1. I think it goes an S. Poison Stab got a massive glow down, just like every other poison card. But it's still a 9 damage attack, so it's not awful. Probably goes in C. Pounce. Honestly, I like Pounce. Because, like, the best case scenario for Pounce is quite good. The worst case scenario for Pounce is 1 energy deal 12, which is fine. And the average case scenario for Pounce is 0 energy deal 12, which is quite good. The problem is that you actually have to spend energy. It prevents you from cheating energy costs the way that you can with Sly. But you get to play Pounce plus one of your slide cards, right? Pounce plus Reflex, Pounce plus Tactician, Pounce plus Untouchable, or whatever. And effectively, you like, Pounce reads the next skill you play costs 0 or discard 1. Right? Like, it's a discard card with extra steps, but it's more versatile and it's stronger before you get your synergies going. So I think it goes in A. I think Pounce is the best of the next like card you play costs 0 out of the next power on defect and the next attack on Ironclad. It felt like it falls off later. It does, but like, that's kind of fine, honestly. I like Pinpoint more. I mean, I have Pinpoint higher, right? Anyways, Precise Cut. First time I saw Precise Cut, I was like, this card's really good. But then I realized how broken Sly is, and I realized that your hand is always full. So Precise Cut is not that good. It's not awful. It's a fine card to pick early, but it's not great either. It's like B. Predator. Predator is so weird, because, like, the effect is really good. Next turn, draw 2 cards is so good for reliability. But 2 energy is so much for the silent. Predator is good when you have Tactician in your deck. But if you don't have a way of cheating energy, it feels really, really bad. I think it goes in B, though, because, like, the effect is just so good. Like, drawing 2 cards next turn is way better than drawing 2 cards this turn for the silent. Because realistically, once you get a proper silent deck going, you have a lot of draw. So once you start going through your deck, you can kind of keep going as long as you have energy. But it's very possible that because your starting deck is bigger, you have 12 cards in your starting deck, 13 with the Ascender's Bane, but obviously that exhausts itself. It's a lot easier to draw a brick hand on the silent after turn 1. Right? So after turn 1, if you draw a brick hand, you kind of just cry. And Predator allows you to reduce the odds of that happening. But 2 energy is just too much. Reflex. Honestly, Reflex isn't that great. Like, within the Sly stuff, Reflex might be the weakest one. Because there's so much premium card draw on Silent. And because you can proactively do things by discarding without needing to draw more cards, right? Back in Slay the Spire 1, Reflex was great because your draw engine in Discard Silent, or so your damage engine in Discard Silent, was just zero cost cards that you would just draw into multiple times, or very effective cards with Tactician. Reflex is still very often a card you will pick, because if you have enough prepared, having a Reflex in your hand isn't worse than having another Sly card, because at worst, you'll draw into another Sly card, and it's fine. But it's not nearly as important to the discard strategy as it was in Slay the Spire 1. Ricochet. Ricochet is S. It's a very good card. Is it SS? Is it on the same level as Flick Flack? Maybe. Yeah, honestly, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. I don't know. They're both really fucking good. The biggest issue with Ricochet over Flick Flack is that it's harder to pick early. Because if you don't have enough discard yet to reliably draw Ricochet with a way to discard it, 2 energy, deal 12 is dog shit. Oh, it's so bad. Whereas 1 energy, deal 7 to all is actually pretty decent. And by the time you have enough draw and discard to make Ricochet better, you'll generally be fine even if you have Flick Flack instead of Ricochet. Serpent Form. Serpent Form is like the quintessential B tier card. It's like, it's fine. The nice thing about Serpent Form is that it's good in every archetype. The less nice thing about Serpent Form is that in discard, it's more expensive and worse than your other damage engines. And discard is so much better than the other archetypes. But just because discard is better doesn't mean you can necessarily go discard every run. So I don't think Serpent Form is bad. Just because Speedster exists and whatnot, but yeah, it's not the best. Shadow Meld. Shadow Meld is D tier because it crashes your game if you play it too many times. No, realistically, Shadow Meld is probably S. Yeah. Really good card. Shadow Step. Shadow Step is okay. The biggest issue with Shadow Step is that it tends to be pretty inconsistent. But it's not bad. It's just, I don't know. The run where I had the best success with Shadow Step was one where I had Master Planner and Acrobatics, where discarding my hand made me draw a new hand. And Shadow Step was basically just a Cal gamble. That was good. But, like, that's a rare with another rare. And an uncommon. So it's like, yeah. It's good burst for shivs. But you don't really need to burst with shivs. Yeah, pretty much. I think the main use case of Shadow Step is when your damage engine for discard is not Speedster. When your damage engine is murder, when your damage engine is pinpoint spam, when your damage engine is tracking and whatnot, Shadow Step is pretty good. But inherently, that's a co-op option, right? Like, because Speedster is arguably the premium damage engine. Skewer. Skewer is dog shit now. Oh my god. Less ways of gaining energy and more premium ways to use energy. Skewer kind of just sucks. I had a run a couple days ago where I started with a colorless card and it gave me the X cost deal 10 damage to a random enemy X times. That upgrades to 14. And I gave it sharp early, and it kind of carried my Act 1, but by Act 2, I had better ways to use my energy. Skewer is just not great. Slice. Slice, I don't think is as good as it was in Slay the Spire 1, because you have other ways of dealing damage now through Sly attacks in your discard package. But it's still a good card. It's still a pretty good card. I still like seeing Slice as my first card reward. I still pick Slice very often in Act 1. And I still sometimes pick Slice in Act 2. But depends on what you're already what you've already got going for you. Mouse bites. No, snake bite is really bad. Oh my god, it's so dog shit. Fuck. I don't know why they made that card. Yeah, my first run of Silent, my first card reward was like Snakebite, uh, Snakebite, Dodge and Roll, and like Infinite Blade. So I picked Snakebite, and I realized this shit is so ass. Oh my god. Anyways, Sneaky is a co-op card. Speedster. Was the idea behind having Retain on a card like this? The idea behind this having Retain is that it allows you to play it with Bullet Time or with Pounce every time you draw it. But it's not enough. That curse that's ethereal is better than Snakebite? I don't think that's true. Because unless your hand is full, Retain and Ethereal are effectively the same thing, but Retain is better. Because if you retain a card, you don't draw back into it. And by the time your hand is full, you're winning. Like, you're playing the Silent, you have enough draw to fill out your hand, you're winning. Anyways, Speedster is probably the best damage engine for discard. So it goes in SS. It doesn't go here, despite it being the best damage engine for the best strategy, because it's not that much better than the other damage engines. You have other options than Speedster. You don't have other options than Prepared. Storm of Steel, well, it's a bit better than in Slay the Spire 1, I guess. Maybe it goes into B. It's not completely awful. But, like, just discarding your hand isn't that good. It's fine. It's alright. Strangle. Strangle is okay, but it's so much worse than the other damage engines. That shit is broken in multiplayer. I can imagine that, yeah. Strangle, I think, is quite good if you have a deck that draws through itself multiple times and has extra energy, but that's asking for a lot. Is Strangle supposed to work on co-op, by the way? Yeah, because Strangle applies a debuff. Oblivion applies a buff to yourself. Strangle applies a debuff to the enemy. If it's a debuff on the enemy, it'll work for every player in co-op. If it's a buff on yourself, I think Oblivion is wait. Oblivion STS2. Yeah, whenever you play a card this turn, apply 3 Doom to the enemy. Then it should work in co-op. Okay, I don't know then. I've never clicked on Oblivion. I think it's a bad card. Anyways. Sucker Punch. I think Sucker Punch is better in Slay the Spire 2 than it was in Slay the Spire 1. Because Weaken is more useful. Is it an S? It might be, honestly. No, it's not. Not when follow-through exists. Yeah, I think an A, it's pretty good. Maybe follow-through should be S, then. No, because it's not as good as these cards. Yeah, okay. Suppress? What the fuck is that? Oh, is that the upgrade for Neutralize? I've never had that. Oh, that's fucking broken. What the hell? Jesus Christ. Tactician. Tactician is probably the best Sly card. If it was common, it would be here. Bash is probably the worst ancient upgrade. I don't agree with that. It's less versatile, but the Bash upgrade is insane on the Vuln stacking Ironclad stuff. Dude, 7 Vuln in one card is so much. It makes Break plus Bully. Right? The Bully is 4 damage plus 3 per Vuln on the enemy. Right? It makes Bully 25 plus the 50% from Vuln, 37. Just from one break. Like, that's insane. It's just situational. And because Vuln Ironclad isn't that great, you won't end up picking it that often. But for the Vuln package, it's, like, probably the highest impact card upgrade. Maybe Evoke 4 times is better if you have, like, 3 Thunders in your deck. Or if you're playing Darkness. And I guess the region upgrade is pretty good too, but like I actually think break upgrade the break is like even better. Anyways, the hunt. The hunt is here. The hunt is fucking broken. Could I interest you in having twice as many prepareds in your deck? In having twice as many bursts? In having twice as many adrenalines? In having twice as many tacticians? This is the duplicate your deck event, except it doesn't duplicate the cards you don't want. It adds 1 copy of great cards you didn't have, and it doesn't give you a curse. It's so fucking good. Yeah, also, that's true. The fact that it drops multiple rare cards if you use it on a boss is also insane. I had a run where I had the hunt before the first boss, and I had, what's it called? I had, Prayer Wheel. And I even got the duplicate your deck with Bing Bong in Act 3. I finished with like 150 cards in my deck. I wish I had a Mind Blast, man. Well, like, I had 150 cards in my deck, and like 30 of them were prepared. it was, yeah, it was something. I had like 30 prepareds. I think 6 adrenalines, 4 bursts, 4 hunts, so I could always get the maximum amount of cards from the enemy. Like, let me see if I think I took a screenshot of this one. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Like, this is what my card rewards were looking like. I also had White Star. Whenever you kill an elite, you get an additional rare card. This is what my card rewards looked like after a fight. Dude, that shit was insane, man. If only I had the Pale's Claw to get relics from it. But I didn't find that. Low roll, SMH. Anyways. Tools of the Trade. Tools of the Trade is basically Predator, but way fucking better. right? Tools of the Trade gets you that consistency of reducing the odds you break on turn 2, while also enabling Sly, while also upgrading to cost 0. Tools of the Trade is a lot better in STS2. I think it's SS, yeah. It's S? I think it's better than that. Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, okay. I can put it here. I'm okay putting it here. Tracking. Tracking is the best non-Sly damage engine, and it's also a decent damage engine for Sly. So, it's probably S. I'm pretty happy to see tracking. It's alright. Untouchable. Why is Cal Gamble SS? Is -1 really that good? Yeah. Because as it turns out, discarding 3 strikes and 2 defense to draw a prepared, an acrobatics, a tactician, and a backflip is very good. Because with all the good cards that have Sly in discard now, very often you discard good cards, and the cards that stay in your hand are bad cards. They're defend, they're survivor, they're cards that you don't actively want to discard because they don't proactively do things when you discard them, end up filling your hand. And it makes it so that Calc Gamble is more often replacing bad cards for good ones. Also, Cal Gamble is a great way of doing the same thing as I talked about with Tools of the Trade, of preventing bricking. If you draw Cal Gamble with a bad hand, you can just play it and draw a pretty much guaranteed better hand. And also, a lot of the tools are hand size positive. A lot of the tools that Silent has are hand size positive, right? With acrobatics and backflip and survivor, or sorry, and reflex. So a -1 in hand size doesn't really matter. Because, like, prepared is also a -1, right? But it just does too much. Anyways, Untouchable is probably SS as well. Why is Draw a tier? Well, I started with an Ironclad list, and it was basically just Pommel Strike. That was so much better than everything else. So I just called it the Draw tier. And then for Silent, I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's just kind of just prepared here, so like we can keep calling it the Draw tier. Up my sleeve. I don't know, man. I think Up my sleeve is kind of eh. It's hard to play the first time. Yeah. The problem is that the first time you draw it, it's dog shit. The second time you draw it, it's Blade Dance. And it's only the third time you draw it that it's, like, actually a really good card. That means you have to go through your deck 3 times. Or you have to burst. But bursting Up my sleeve, just like bursting Blade Dance, is really difficult because you're going to fill your hand, you're going to get shivs in your discard pile, and then 2 turns from now, you'll draw shivs instead of good cards. So it's really difficult to burst the Up my sleeves. I think that generally, Up my sleeves is the most pickable if you either already, for some reason, picked Shiv Synergy. Maybe, maybe you got an early fan of Knives. Like, I can see that. Or maybe you got a finisher for some reason. I don't know. Or a knife trap or whatever. Either that, or you've already picked up Pounce, which I think Pounce is a very pickable card early. And I think if you have Pounce, Up My Sleeve becomes so much better. Anyways, a last card, because the rest is either starter or event or co-op. Well-Laid Plans. Well-Laid Plans was probably the best card for the Silent in Slay the Spire 1. It is not the best card anymore, but it's still a very good card. I think the biggest issue with Well-Laid Plans is that it doesn't scale as well as it used to be, because discard silent decks tend to end up with more both cards that do something when you discard them and cards that discard than it did in Slay the Spire 1. So it tends to happen less often that you either draw only your discard stuff or only your stuff that does something when it gets discarded. Why not rank the ancient exclusive cards, by the way? Because obviously they're way fucking better than every other card, right? Like, I can, right? Suppress, zero energy, deal 11 damage, apply 3 week. I don't know what it upgrades to, but it's probably like 15 damage 5 week or some shit. Yeah, that's insanely fucking broken. Wraith form, yeah, that's insanely fucking broken. Also, I don't know why it says gain 2 intangible, because I don't think you can get unupgraded Wraith form. Maybe if your cards get downgraded by that elite in Act 3. Like, yeah, both of these cards would go here. They're very fucking broken. My god. I think you could just take into consideration the opportunity cost of losing a boss relic. Well, then we'd have to compare it to other boss relics, not to other cards. Because the other cards don't have that opportunity cost. And they don't have anything close to that opportunity cost. You never have... I guess technically, if you have Bale's Claw, you do have to choose between getting a card and getting half of a relic. But, like, I think even with Bale's Claw, you never click skip. You never click sacrifice unless you would already skip. Maybe that's not true. Maybe there's a few cards, like Escape Plan, that you would never skip, but maybe you would sacrifice. And like Piercing Wail. The cards that you don't need to have, but that are always better than skip, I guess you might want to sacrifice instead of